Not enough time and attention is given to invertebrates, quite apart from them just being fascinating animals, their life history, their evolutionary history. They have a right to be here. So much depends on their survival.
Just here. So the eggs have been incubating for quite a few months now. So they've hatched out now. They're 12 hours old, basically. It'll take them about a year to reach maturity. Today we're going to be taking some baby wetapunga out of their egg fields and setting them up into new enclosures. So this number on the top here is the identification number for the female that produced these eggs. So that's how we follow the genetic lines. So it's very, very important that this number stays on, so it's on the top, but it's also inside as well. So it's quite complicated. Each of these enclosures here contains juveniles that have been produced by one female. So they've all got the same mum, in other words, in these enclosures. Oops, open it up. So this facility is all climate controlled and essentially the conditions in here match what's going on outside, but it's slightly buffered from the extremes. So it never gets as cold as it does outside, and it never gets as warm either. So it makes it quite an enjoyable place to work most of the time. We just make sure we provide them with heaps and heaps of hiding places so that they can get away from each other if they don't want to hang out, and lots of food. So we've got this leaf litter, and we use fish flake as a protein source, and then lots and lots of fresh foliage, and they do really, really well in these communal groups together.
Good morning.
Morning.
By chance, just by chance, are you going to Motuihe?
We are, yes.
Oh, well that's good to know. Hello, my name's John.
Yes,
We're
hello.
Good morning, I'm Alan.
To board.
Yes, Bruce.
Thank you, Alan.
Come down this way.
Thank you.
We'll take you down.
Quite exciting. I think so too. Today is a significant day. 5th island that we've released Wētāpunga on, beyond Hauturu, the founding island, or the last known natural location of the Wētāpunga. Of course, they were once widespread across the northern half of the North Island, 150, 180 years ago, as far as we know. And we're doing our very best in our own small way to redress the balance. We'd like to see more Wētāpunga, and we think they're a lot safer on the more islands we can put them on.
With each new island that we release them onto, it's an extra level of protection. So if anything happens to one of the other populations, then there's something for them to fall back on, which is sort of the whole premise of this whole restoration project for the species.
We have very gingerly arrived at the wharf, and we've loaded up the weta onto the back of this LUV.
This is about halfway down. Yep. This red dot here is where the road comes in.
Just come in.
We can find suitable spots for them throughout this whole area. So we're just going to head down here into our release site, and we're going to put up some flagging tape. Yeah, so we're just going to go around this whole area and find enough sites within here to put all of the weta we've got for this particular site, which is 35 animals. Cool, so this is a really good place to release them. So here we've got this big hole in this tree, which is a perfect hiding place for it, but also very close to one of its favoured food plants. So in this case, it's a koikoe tree. And we also want to find a spot which is relatively horizontal, so they don't like sitting totally vertically. So this is the first one, and so 34 more to go.
We've already assessed the habitat to be really good for weta in terms of food plant and refugia. So it's now just a case of, before you place the bamboo, looking up, seeing what it connects with, imagining yourself as a weta emerging, trying to put your head in the space of a weta, at night. You don't want it to be immediately vulnerable to natural predators that are here. I'm in awe of this giant Pohutukawa over the top of me here. It's quite a presence. The reason we chose this spot, because it's dotted with these old giants, which will be home for Weta for decades to come, we hope. Just perfect.
So this is what they're transported in, and it's also what we're going to release them in. So it's a piece of bamboo, and one end still has the node and the other end is open. So it's got a cabbage tree leaf in here for the weta to hold onto. Once we're out here, we can release them, and we just take the piece of mesh off, and this gets attached with a bit of fabric tie to a tree, and then the weta is free to come out whenever it chooses to do so, but this will protect it, at least during the first day. If any birds want to come down and harass it, then they'll have a hard time trying to get to it through this. This weta is nocturnal, so it spends the daytime hiding usually in dense vegetation or in tree cavities. So this is just replicating that as best we can. And then tonight, once the sun goes down, it'll come out and explore its surroundings, and it might choose to go back in here and continue using this for a couple of nights, but usually they will leave and find their own natural refuge. Cool, so everyone wants to grab a couple.
Excellent.
Okay, overall strategy today is to release a smaller number of much beefier wetapunga that are going to stand a chance against the natural predators on the island.
It's fabric ties, same ones that you use for your tomatoes at home, but being used for an insect restoration project in this particular case. Pretty much, most important thing is that the mesh comes off. The tape is very specific to where the bamboo piece should go, so that when it emerges out, it's going to be backing out onto this nice solid branch, and then from there it can go up and find a new place to live. To me, rather than the releases, I feel more excited when I see them back here a few months or years after the release. So obviously this is really, really special, but to me it's the knowing that the species is persisting in the area after an extended period of time that really makes me feel really good.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah, this is the sort of tree I always imagined them living in.
Yeah.
So the Trust has recently had its 20th anniversary, and it was formed with the aim of restoring Motuihe Island to a natural ecosystem. So it started with clearing the farming animals and then making the island pest free. And we're really lucky to have some residual historic bush. And we've had about just over 15 years of active planting program, and so the trees are all coming back and the birds are back, and we're steadily reintroducing new species, which is really wonderful. We're really excited to work with Auckland Zoo, and we are hoping that it's going to lead to greater advocacy for wetapunga, as well as just providing a new opportunity for future study.
And there we go.
Having the third release of wetapunga on the island is hopefully going to be another link in the sort of natural food web of the island. So they are something that previously would have lived on Motuihe, pre-predators. We're very lucky to have so many Gulf islands because they are effectively predator-proofed little oases, so it's a safe way to have species that are really vulnerable to predation. It is an incredible privilege to be able to walk around the island and see everything coexisting in its natural state and seeing such rare species just all around me.
Well, it's a late afternoon. Here we are on Calypso Bay, beautiful bay, awaiting our honoured guests and various kaitiaki iwi of Motuihe. We have a lot of the Motuihe Trust here as well. Perhaps I'm a little biased, but the wetapunga is a bit of a Kiwi icon. It's one of the world's largest insects. It's a beast, and it's even working with them for many, many years, I'm always enthralled by them. I think they're incredible, and you know, that reaches a lot of people. So that's in evidence today, I think. We were here early in the morning, and it was our intention to release half the weta we brought onto the island, so 35 before the afternoon release. We just wanted to buy ourselves enough time to enjoy the moment.
He wātoru atu an te ngā kau ki rangi nui e tūnei ki paputua nuku e takoto nei ki ngā pauwharingoa tūpuna. I don't know much about the Wētāpunga, but a friend of mine from the East Coast said it was the god of ugly things. Sounds unkind, but hey, you can see why.
Tēnā rā koutou ngā taonga o te ao Motuihe, I hara mai nei o Te Motu-a-Ihenga e, I hara mai nei e.
O hataia mai I te waka, ki te urunga, te waka, ki te moenga, te waka, ki te takotora ngai takoto ai te waka. Hei!
I want to celebrate personally the fact that we are all here for the sake of a bug, which is, as far as Ben and I are concerned, is a fantastic situation to be in. And what we are doing today is really important, acknowledging Chris Green from DocVet that identified that 4 islands should hold additional populations of wetapunga to make them safe. But that was 23 years ago, and the threats have increased in terms of climate change. This is the 3rd release onto this island. There's already 1,100 weta here. Thank you very, very much, Motuihe, for engaging with Auckland Zoo. And we must acknowledge Ngāti Manuhiri as well. The founders of these animals came from Little Barrier Island. None of this could happen without those founders.
It's a fantastic partnership. It's mana whenua, it's the Department of Conservation, it's volunteers, it's the Motuihe Trust, but it's also our sponsors, and our major sponsor has been Foundation North.
Aren't its ears and its legs?
You're absolutely right. You've done some reading. Well done. That's right. Isn't she beautiful? Invertebrates are the new front line for conservation. Everything depends on the health of the invertebrate communities. Without invertebrates, we'd all go. We're losing them faster than anything else. And it goes unnoticed. That's the sad thing, because they're small. And this is why weta are such great ambassadors. They're big, and humans are impressed with size. So it captures the imagination. It's an ambassador for the rest of the millions of invertebrates out there that are still a lot in trouble.
I feel very privileged actually to be here this day and to actually welcome back such an ancient ngangara species back to the whenua of Motuihe, and you actually see them. Wow, they're beautiful.
19 years ago, I flew over this island with Doc. And when the helicopter came up over off the water, the whole island moved, and it was rabbits. And they'd stripped every bit of vegetation. They were climbing up the puhutakawa tree to nibble at the puhutakawa leaves. And so something had to be done. And so they did do it in 80, they did clear the rabbits and other pests, and they were followed by the Motuihe Restoration Trust. And in that time, because I haven't been here since then, and it's phenomenal, they've recreated an environment in which we can release these species. A big kia ora to the Auckland Zoo for developing the skills, the technologies necessary to achieve this.
And that's the dedication from Te Motu-a-Ihenga Trust, the Restoration Trust, that's made this possible, so that we're grateful as well. That we can come back as mana whenua to a place that has been looked after and, the ecosystem has been restored.
Cool, so she's just tucked in there. Might be a bit hard to see her. And I just pop her up here. There we go. That's not very good. This is a tree weta, which is the smaller relative of the wetapunga. This one's a female as well. You can see the ovipositor. Yeah, so these are just natural on the island, and there's lots of them here because there's no rats or mice, which is the two main predators of tree weta. So when rodents aren't here, then you tend to get very, very high densities of nice big insects like this one here. Last one. Cool, so this is the last one of the day. number 71. It's been a very, very long day, very rewarding, but very long, so nice to be all finished.
The Motuihe Trust learned about our previous involvements with Tiritiri-Matangi and Motu-ora and wanted to get on board and approached us. And they're very much along for the ride, very intimately. They will help us with the monitoring. They'll learn what it takes to monitor. So it's really exciting, monitoring weta. Always good to see one in the wild, knowing that you put them there.
We have such extraordinarily unusual species and they're endemic, so they're found nowhere else in the world. We have a responsibility to look after that, and it's a privilege too. If we don't look after the natural world, we don't survive. We depend on it for air, for water, for food, for fuel, absolutely everything we do, even if it doesn't feel like it, we depend on the natural world.
The breeding part of the project is one thing, then there's the releasing part, which is where we are now. And then once they've been surveyed for a certain number of years really to demonstrate that they are breeding multiple generations on each island, then we'll be able to say, yes, this population is established. If they are here 10 years from now, I'd be pretty happy saying that they've established. And that's has happened on Tiritiri-Matangi and Motu-ora.
And to see a weta on an island that wasn't otherwise there, when the years come, I think the rewards come the more you wait, the more you return, the more you see weta, you know it's working. You want to know it's working before you really get that great feeling of they're surviving. You want to prove they're surviving, they're doing it on their own. When I hold that animal, I am equally enthralled every time I hold it. And so I can't contain that sincerity when I'm showing people the weta, because they are absolutely amazing.
It's also just heartening to see that all of the people who are here today have sort of gone out of their way to be here for an insect, which is like, you know, you'd spend so long advocating for insects and their conservation, and to see that message is actually getting through, it's pretty, that's pretty cool.